KCBD News Channel 11 at 6.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us.
Video taken of Hollis Daniels in jail is shown to the jury that will determine the killer's fate. The evidence was part of the state's case today and among the security measures the Lubbock County Detention Center took in the months after his arrest.
KCBD News Channel 11's Case Wilbanks was in the courtroom again today and joins us with our continuing coverage. Case?
And Karen and Abner, the commander of the Lubbock County Detention Center's detention response team was among those who testified on behalf of the prosecution today. She says because he had killed Officer Floyd East Jr. and because of what she described as Daniels' unstable behavior, she ordered that high-level security. Daniels was initially placed in what's called a violent cell and was in three-point restraints as he was moved through the jail. We saw video of the team placing those restraints on him as he had his initial court appearance and used the phone to call his family. And one video showed he made a statement to someone that, quote, he killed a cop. A DRT member also testified that as Daniels was allowed to shower the night he was booked, he said, quote, expletive the police, and quote, I hope you get shot too. The DRT commander said Daniels was moved into general population at the jail after 2 months. He was also no longer recorded, which was to document his treatment and for jail safety. The defense pointed out the state only showed 6 videos out of hundreds taken in Daniels in those 2 months while he was in jail. Some videos we saw today included pastors praying for Daniels, who had asked if they could, and he said yes. He's also seen asking a DRT member for newspapers about the murder of Officer East, and he was denied those. The LPD homicide detective today again testified that when he went to obtain Daniels' DNA at the jail the day after the murder, he believes Daniels appeared to be enjoying the notoriety as people looked at him in the jail. The defense disputed jail booking records the detective was questioned about yesterday by the state. Daniels' attorneys called Daniels' statements in those records about his mental health, quote, inconsistent and contrary to others he had made. Both the defense and state asked the DRT commander about Daniels' behavior since his first day in jail. She said in the past 5 years he has had no discipline issues or problems. Judge Trey McClendon recessed court until 9 Monday morning, and as it resumes, we'll be there. Karen?
Thank you, Case.